my beloved child. I have watched you in silence, every step you've taken from the early days when everything felt new and uncertain, to now, as you walk with the strength of someone who has weathered many storms. I saw the battles you fought, not just with your own might, but with a faith that stirred the heavens, the tears that fell quietly in the night, the prayers that had no words, the moments when you felt alone and none of it escaped my gaze, and even when you didn't realize it, I was there, not distant, not indifferent, but close beside you, like a father holding your hand through a crowded and chaotic street. I have seen you wrestle, not only with trials around you, but with the silent doubts within. You didn't give up. You chose to stand firm when everything in you urged to run. You have no idea what that means to me, my child, because every time you choose faithfulness, every time you choose light in the midst of darkness, you speak to me without words that you trust me, and no faith like that is ever forgotten. You believed me when others turned away. You followed my voice, even when the path was covered in thorns. When the world flashed its glittering lies before you, you chose truth. When people laughed, when friends walked away, when my words felt heavy to carry, you still held on. I know you're not perfect, but you're real. You've never hidden anything from me, and that touches my heart deeply. I never looked for a child who would never stumble. I cherish the one who gets back up and comes home to me. Again and again, I've heard your sighs when you prayed more for others than for yourself. I've seen how you encouraged and lifted others quietly, giving without expecting anything in return. I've watched how you became light for someone drowning in darkness 7 when you didn't realize it. Those small acts, those unseen moments, are proof that you carry my likeness within you. And do you know, my child, in a world where many lock up their love, the fact that you choose to give mine away is a treasure. You didn't wait until you had everything. You gave from what was inside you: sincerity, softness, and a heart that doesn't calculate. When faced with the choice between safety and obedience, you chose to obey. When you could have stayed silent to avoid trouble, you spoke up for truth. You chose to love in a desert land, to forgive when hate would have been easier. And it's those choices, the ones only I truly see, that bring joy to my heart. You are a precious gift, not because of what you've done, but because you've allowed me to live and work through you. Your heart is a surrendered heart. I know this not because you say it, but because you live it. You place my will above your own plans. You seek me before you decide. You come back to me after you've wandered. You rejoice when I move, and you grieve when I'm grieved. Your love for me isn't loud, but it is deep and unshakable. And I am proud of you, not as a commander of a soldier, but as a father who rejoices in the child that has returned and remains in his embrace. You no longer have to prove anything. To me, you are enough, not because of your achievements, but because your heart is honest before me. And I want you to remember this: I never compare you to anyone else. Every journey is unique, and yours is the one I've written with my own hand. There may be moments when others seem to go faster, have more, or receive more attention. But remember, your path is yours alone. In my eyes, there is no one greater or lesser. Only beloved children whom I love with all my heart. So, my child, keep walking. Keep your heart tender, your faith alive, and your gaze fixed on me. Do not be afraid when you feel weak, for I am strong. Do not worry when you don't know what to do, for I will guide you. Do not be discouraged when no one acknowledges you, for I see it all. I remember every tear you've cried. I treasure every act of love you've given. Nothing is forgotten, it is all written in the depths of my heart. And above all, know this, I am not just the one who walks beside you. I am your home. No matter the storms, no matter how long the season lasts, you always have a safe place in my arms. There, you will never have to fight alone. There, you will always be heard, always be understood, and always be loved not for what you do, but because you are mine, and that will never change. My beloved child, I have watched you with eyes full of love and patience throughout your entire journey. I have seen every effort, every act of service, every moment of faithfulness, whether big or small. Nothing escapes me. The love you've shown me has never faded in my sight. It is sincere, fervent, and beautiful, like a flower blooming in the midst of a dry wilderness. You've loved me not just with words, but with your life. You've chosen me when the world tempted. You've walked in the light while darkness surrounded you. And for that, my heart rejoices. I delight in you as a father delights in the child who chooses truth. But today, I do not come only to praise you. I come as a father who longs to whisper a gentle reminder, because I love you too much to stay silent when something small yet dangerous begins to creep into your heart. You have been faithful. You have been diligent. But, my child, sometimes it is the most faithful who can most easily overlook the smallest things. You may think you are fine, and yes, in many ways, you are walking uprightly. But there is one thing so small it felt like a passing breeze in your thoughts that has started to grow in your heart. I see it, even as you hesitate to name it. It might be a touch of bitterness you haven't fully let go, a flicker of envy behind every compliment given to another, a quiet pride stirred by recent successes, a hidden doubt rising when your prayers seem unanswered. It isn't loud, it isn't obvious, but it's there, like a tiny seed. It's searching for soil to root in, and if you don't recognize it, it could one day grow into something vast, taking space in your heart, meant only for peace, obedience, and love. My child, what I care about is not only what others may see on the outside, but what takes place in the deepest chambers of your soul. You may serve me diligently each day, yet if your heart is occupied by thoughts that do not come from me, then you are forfeiting the freedom I purchased for you with my own blood. You may continue teaching, praising, and praying among the congregation, yet if something within your mind begins to cloud the voice of the Holy Spirit, you will find yourself lost, even while thinking you are walking rightly. Do not think that I am reproaching you. No, I did not come to condemn, but to heal. I do not expose to shame, but to deliver. I bring these things into the light because I love you, because I long for your heart to be as light as it once was, when simply hearing my voice brought you joy, when everything you did flowed from a living relationship with me, no, from duty, not from fear, not from the expectations of men. I want your heart to return to that beginning place where no hidden worries remained. No buried emotions weighed you down, and no veiled desires were masked beneath a spiritual shell. Look again. My child, ask yourself, is there something that has dulled the sweetness of your fellowship with me? Is there something that makes you pray less, trust more slowly, or praise with less sincerity? Have you allowed the wounds from others' words to build a wall inside your heart? Have you held on to a trace of pride, a lingering resentment, a quiet spirit of comparison? These are the seeds I am speaking of. And I do not merely want you to recognize them, I want you to uproot them. Right now, before they take deep root, before they entangle your soul with invisible chains. You do not need to do this alone. I am here to help you pull them out from the root. I do not wait until you are perfect before I come. In fact, it is in your weakness that I enter in with overflowing grace. Let me touch the corners you've tried to hide. Let me wipe away the tears you've held back. Let me tend to the garden of your heart so it may be purified, so that everything of me may flourish in fullness. For I do not want you to simply live. I want you to live abundantly, lightly, and free. And my beloved, when you respond to my voice today, do not see it as rebuke. See it as an invitation to return to fertile ground where you can hear me clearly, feel my love deeply, and walk without burden. I long to heal your heart. I long to purify your gaze. I long for your path ahead to be unbound by anything that does not belong to my kingdom. For I have great things in store for you, and I do not want any bitter root to slow your steps along the way. Be brave, my child. Be honest with yourself. Do not fear the light. For the light does not come to burn, it comes to illuminate and bring you to life. I have called you by name, chosen you among many, and I will not abandon the work I have begun. I am doing a beautiful work in you, and a part of that beauty is purification. Let me do it. For I do not only want you to triumph outwardly, I want you to be victorious within, not by your own strength, but by my unending grace. And then, when you look back, you will realize that today's warning was not a sign of your failure. It was evidence of my love. For I discipline those whom I love. And you are one of my most beloved, my precious child. You once walked in radiant trust. Your heart was innocent, yet deep, steadfast, yet tender. You once looked to me as a child looks to their father, trusting without needing to understand, because you knew I would never leave you. I saw each moment you surrendered, each time you lifted your dreams, your choices, even your unspoken thoughts to me. I held your hand when it trembled. I lifted you when you stumbled. But now, there is something I can no longer leave, unsaid, something I must speak. Not to accuse, but to heal. You have gradually let your heart drift from that pure trust, not through bold rebellion, but through quiet choices, seemingly small turns that have slowly pulled you away from the path of faith. You once trusted me with everything: your life, your future, your health, and even the unspoken desires of your heart. But somewhere along the journey, you began to place your trust in what your eyes could see, your ears could hear, and your mind could reason. What you didn't realize was that the more you leaned on your own understanding, the less you turned to me. I do not fault you for thinking deeply, for being cautious, or for seeking understanding, for I gave you the ability to discern. But it grieves me when you choose to act first and seek my counsel later. When you make decisions based solely on what appears safe, without allowing me to reveal what lies beneath the surface. When you fear failure so much that you hesitate to obey if my voice calls you beyond your comfort zone. My child, fear, though quiet, has begun to shape your decisions. Not loud, obvious fear, but a subtle kind. Fear of lack, fear of loss, fear of making mistakes, fear of being hurt. And it has dimmed the flame of faith that once burned brightly within you. You've started to question not whether I exist, but whether I move quickly enough, whether I truly see your needs, whether your waiting is in vain. These questions creep into your mind like a fog that blurs the light. And so you begin to find your own way, calculating, planning, weighing your options, not necessarily excluding me, but no longer placing me first. I know you didn't mean to. I know it comes from weariness, from disappointment, from waiting too long without seeing my promises fulfilled. But, my child, it is precisely when you don't see me that I am working. It is when you assume I am silent that I am arranging something better than you imagined. It is when everything seems to have stalled that your heart is being invited into deeper trust, not trust in outcomes, but trust in me. Do you remember in the beginning, when you were willing to follow me just because I said so, without needing to understand why? When you waited for me like a child waits for their father, not like a guest doubting a promise? I remember. I remember the light in your eyes simply because you knew I was near. I remember your whispered prayers, not demanding, just longing to be close. And now, I am inviting you back to that place, the place where faith is rooted not in circumstances, but in relationship. Do not let your wisdom, however sharp and sincere, become a barrier to my leading. You may know many things, but only I know what lies around every corner. You may see today, but only I see your whole life. You may read the map, but only I can walk you through each step. So pause, breathe, listen. Come back to that place where you once asked me about every little thing, not out of fear of getting it wrong, but out of love that didn't want to live a moment outside my will. My child, I do not require perfect faith, but I welcome a sincere heart. You don't have to know everything, just be willing to obey. You don't have to be strong all the time, just return when you're weary. You don't have to pretend to be unwavering, just be honest when your heart is shaken. I can rebuild everything if only you return. If only you look at me and say, Father, I surrender to your will once again. And when you do that, something beautiful will happen. Your heart will become light again. Not because the problems instantly disappear, but because the burden will no longer rest on your shoulders. I will carry it for you. I will lead you not where you want, but where you need to go. And when you look back, you will know you were never truly lost, only momentarily forgetting that you were never meant to walk alone. My child, this is not a rebuke, this is a calling. I am inviting you back to the place of complete trust. A place where your heart can rest in my presence. A place where the things you do not yet understand no longer steal your peace. Because you know your Father is still holding all things together. Believe again. Not because you know the plan, but because you know the one who made it. Let me be your guide again, step by step, day by day, even in the smallest of decisions. And you will see you are not only being led, but also deeply loved, fully covered, faithfully upheld, and never abandoned. For I am the faithful one, and you are the child I will never stop loving. My beloved child, I've sat quietly beside you during the darkest nights, even when you didn't know I was there. I have heard the sighs that never became words, seen the tears you quickly wiped away when no one was looking. I know there are things you haven't spoken, not because you're hiding them from me, but because you don't even know where to begin. And today, I do not come to examine you, nor to make you feel ashamed, but as a fatherto, gently remind, to lift you up, and to call you back to the safe ground of faith you once knew so well. You stumbled, I know, not because you meant to stray, but because fear crept in like a thief in the night, quietly taking root in your heart, little by little, and it pulled you away from the simple, powerful trust you once carried. That fear didn't arrive all at once. It came through a string of disappointments, of expectations unmet, of moments where you waited and saw no answer. It began as a small doubt. Is God listening? Is His plan truly good? Am I waiting for nothing? And grew each time you took on what you once laid down before me. You thought that if you controlled it, if you made decisions based on what you could see, then maybe you'd be safer from hurt. And I understand that. I don't blame you for trying to protect yourself. But, my child, it is in holding on to everything that you refuse the hand I've extended toward you. You've begun making decisions based on calculations, on data, on past experiences, all reasonable, but missing one thing, my presence in each step. You didn't cut me out of your life, but you stopped seeking me first. You ask me last instead of first. You consult me as confirmation, rather than as the starting voice. You've trusted in your reasoning, and the danger isn't that your reasoning is wrong, but that it made you forget I am greater than what makes sense. My child, this is not condemnation. I do not keep records of wrongs to shame you. I do not replay every misstep to make you regret. I only want you to face the root fear and let me uproot it once again. Because as long as fear remains, it will keep bearing fruit: worry, doubt, hardness of heart. But if you let me remove it, I will plant faith, peace, and joyful obedience in its place. I am not angry with you. My child, my love for you does not fluctuate with your perfection. I do not love you less when you are weak, nor more when you are strong. My love isn't measured by performance, it's measured by who you are. Because you are my beloved creation, the one I formed with all my heart. And it is precisely because I love you that I cannot stay silent while you carry burdens I never asked you to bear. And now, I am calling you not to return to a list of rules, nor to a form of outward morality, but to return to me. Return to a heart that trusts. Return to the place where you once knew that though everything around you may change, I remain unshaken. Return to the place where you can lay down every burden, sit at my feet, and say, I don't understand it all, but I believe. I know that saying such words is not easy, especially when what stands before your eyes seems to contradict the promises I have spoken. But true faith is not proven when all is well. It is revealed when everything is silent. And yet you still choose to believe. I did not come to demand that you fix yourself before coming home. All I ask is that you come with a tender heart, with empty hands, with a longing to be near me once more. You need not offer explanations. You do not have to prove yourself worthy. I already know it, Alan Still. I have seen it, Alan Still. I invite. So, my child, lay down every fear and doubt. Let me hold what you cannot control. Let me guide what you cannot see. And let me continue the story you once dared to believe would be filled with miracles. I never stopped moving. You only slowed down for a moment because you were weary. And I, as a loving father, slowed my pace to walk beside you, to remind you that this journey does not rely on your strength, but on my love for you. So rise, my child, reach out your hand to me once more, and let me lead you not by logic, not by emotion, but by the promise that was written before the foundation of the world. You were not created to live in anxiety, but to walk by faith, not to strive and struggle for your own escape, but to surrender and be led, not to live a life of mere survival, but to experience the fullness that comes from a God who always has more in store than you can imagine. This is not the end, this is the turning point. And when you return, You will not see eyes of condemnation, but the eyes of a father, arms open wide, waiting and ready to begin again with you, as if there had never been distance between us. My beloved child, listen closely, for what I am about to say is not an ancient tale of a faraway garden, but the echo of a father's heart that still longs for his child to come home. In the beginning, when I placed the first human in the garden, I crafted with love and perfect care. I did not create servants, I created sons and daughters. With freedom, with will, with the ability to love me by choice. I did not bind them with laws. I gave them one command only: do not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Just one command, not as a test, but as a protection, to teach them the boundary between true life and destruction. But in a single moment so brief, yet whose consequences stretch into today, they broke the only command I had given. And child, the sorrow was not just in the action, but in the disconnection that followed. When I came calling, as I always did, they no longer ran to me with joy. They hid. They covered themselves. They were ashamed. They were afraid. And for the first time in creation's history, fear replaced fellowship between father and child. They knew they had sinned, and instead of running toward forgiveness, they fled from my presence. Child, I did not ask what they had done because I didn't know. I already knew. I called their names not out of ignorance, but out of longing for them to step out of the shadows, face the truth, and begin again through repentance. My anger is not the sudden fury of a wounded soul like man often displays. No, it is the righteous anger of betrayed love, of holiness that cannot overlook sin. I had given them everything: life, satisfaction, love, protection, unity, and they chose the words of the enemy over mine. But child, understand this: even in my anger, there was sorrow. I take no delight in punishment. I did not create man to die, but disobedience opened the door to sin, and death followed like an uninvited shadow. From that moment, the entire world changed. Not only mankind, but all of creation was affected. The ground was cursed. Death seeped into all living things. Fellowship was severed. And from then on, the man could no longer naturally dwell in my presence. They had to learn the way back, to cross the veil that they themselves had created. But child, remember this: something generations have forgotten. Even within my justice, my mercy has never been extinguished. I did not end the story there. Right in the midst of judgment, I planted a promise, a thread of hope that would run through history. I declared that the seed of the woman would crush the serpent's head, the first prophecy of the coming of my son, Jesus. He came not merely to live a good life, but to conquer sin from within, to bear the punishment humanity deserved, to restore the lost fellowship, to reclaim what Adam and Eve forfeited: not just a garden, but sacred intimacy between father and child. That, my child, is why no matter how far humanity has strayed, I have never stopped calling. I have sent prophets. I have given signs. I have spoken through countless ways, not because I needed worship, but because I longed to redeem. And when the fullness of time came, I did not send an angel. I did not send a messenger. I sent my own Sonoff, my very being, who became flesh, who walked among sinners, who loved, who suffered, and who bled to death, because only at that price could I buy back the souls who had drifted from me. Child, I tell you this story not to remind you of failure, but to show you that no disobedience is beyond my mercy. No sin is so deep that my grace cannot cover it. Even if you have hidden, turned away, or silently believed you are no longer worthy today, I still call your name. Just as I called to Adam, "Where are you?" Today I ask you, where are you? In your relationship with me, not to accuse, but to draw you near. I am the God of justice that has never changed. But I am also the fountain of mercy, of forgiveness, of new beginnings. My anger does not endure forever, for it always comes with an invitation to return. And every time you return, I do not open a ledger, I open my arms. I do not see you as a criminal to be punished, but as a lost child who has found the way home. So, my beloved child, if your heart still carries worry, if shame still echoes within you, if you are still hiding in some pain, remember, I have not forsaken you. Step out from the hiding place of fear. Let my light shine into what you once kept concealed, and you will see. The place that once bore the mark of your fall will become the starting point of your restoration. For I am the one who formed you, and I never grow weary of redeeming what I love. My beloved child, as you open your heart to hear me today, know that what I am about to speak is not meant to frighten you or drown you in guilt. It is a loving reminder, so that you may better understand who I truly am, the one who is both holy and just, yet overflowing with mercy and slow to anger. This portrait is not easy to paint. It is the image of a father, both firm and full of compassion, and I want you to see it not through the lens of punishment, but through the light of a love that never retreats. I do not treat sin lightly. Because I am holy, sin cannot stand in my presence. Sin is not merely a breaking of law, it is a rejection of me, a turning away from grace, a hardening of the heart to my call. Israel was the clearest witness to this truth. After I brought them out of Egypt with my mighty hand parting the Red Sea, making water stand like walls so they could walk through on dry ground, they saw my power with their own eyes, heard my voice with their ears, and tasted my deliverance in real life. And yet, they quickly forgot. At the foot of Mount Sinai, while Moses was away only a little while, they molded for themselves a golden calf and called it their God. They worshipped what their own hands had made, even as my glory covered the mountaintop. My child, that was not mere rebellion, it was an offense to my heart, a betrayal like that of an unfaithful bride. And I, the one who had loved, protected, delivered, was angered, not because I lost control, but because my heart was deeply wounded. But that wrath, though fiercely, did not lead to total destruction. I withheld judgment because of Moses' intercession, who dared to stand in the gap between me and the people, a foreshadowing of my son, who would later intercede for all mankind. And even though rebellion continued through every stretch of the journey, every step in the wilderness, I did not withdraw my care. They rebelled, they complained, they doubted, they cried out to return to Egypt, but still I gave them manna each morning. Still I brought water from the rock. Still I covered them with cloud by day and warmed them with fire by night. Though they were unfaithful, I remained faithful. And when they drew near to the promised land, the land I had sworn to give to their forefathers, I called them to enter by faith. But do you know what happened? They were afraid. They saw giants and forgot that I, the one who had conquered Pharaoh, was still with them. They chose to believe in fear rather than the promise. They wept, they grumbled, and they wanted to appoint a new leader to take them back to Egypt. In that moment, I could not remain silent. not because I delighted in anger, but because I could not permit a generation to reject me after witnessing so many miracles. And so I declared that none from that generation except Joshua and Caleb would enter the promised land. I did not speak out of impulse. I spoke as one who sees the consequences of unbelief. And it came to pass they wandered for 40 years in the wilderness, not because I failed to lead them, but because they were unwilling to follow. Yet even during those meandering years, I remained with them. I did not reject them. I still provided food and water, protection and instruction. Their clothes did not wear out. Their feet did not swell because I preserved them. I did not withdraw my presence, even though their hearts repeatedly withdrew their devotion from me. This is the truth you must engrave upon your heart. My wrath is never void of love. It is not blind, nor cruel, nor self-serving. It is the expression of a heart that loves too deeply to overlook what is wrong. If I tolerated sin without correction, then my love would be weak. But if I corrected without mercy, then I would not be a father but a tyrant. Yet Godam both holy, not tolerating sin, and merciful, having prepared a path of redemption before humanity even fell. My child, if you have ever felt like the Israelites, once believing, now doubting, once brave, now afraid, once advancing, now retreating, I do not reject you, but neither do I dismiss your unbelief. I will correct you. I will pause to let you understand, but I will not stop loving you. However far you've wandered, the moment you turn back, I will receive you. Wrath is not the end. Repentance opens the floodgates of mercy. Therefore, my child, if today your heart still dwells in the wilderness, do not assume I have abandoned you. Look for the traces of grace in the smallest things: a prayer answered, a door opened, a flicker of hope within. These are the signs that I am still here, still faithful. And when you are ready to step into the promised land, the land I've appointed for you, not merely a place, but a place of maturity, of calling, of complete joy, you will see. I never abandoned your journey, even when I had to slow your steps to teach you deeper trust. I am the Lord, faithful in every season, even when you are not, and that will never change. My beloved child, there are things in life that you will not understand the moment they happen: cracks, losses, detours that seem pointless. But if you are willing to sit still, to listen, and to look at the current of history through the eyes of faith, you will realize nothing ever happens outside of my love and purpose. Today, I want you to reflect on a truth proven through generations, that I am a righteous God who does not tolerate sin, and yet a merciful God who never turns his back on his people, even when they turn away from me. My people, those I loved, chose, and cherished, repeatedly disobeyed, chased after idols, worshipped what their hands had made, and disregarded my word. I could not remain idle while such rebellion spread like a disease through the heart of the nation. I warned, I sent prophets, I whispered calls for them to return, but their hearts grew hard, their ears dull, their eyes blind to the love I continued to pour out. And then, judgment, Kamino, as a sudden trap. But as the inevitable outcome of prolonged hardness, they were exiled, torn from the promised land. Jerusalem lay in ruins, the temple destroyed, the songs of worship silenced. It seemed as if the light had gone out, and all that remained was a long, cold winter. But, my child, that was never the final chapter of my story with them. I never correct without a promise. I never close one door without preparing another way home. My wrath, though real and fierce, has always been cloaked in unchanging mercy. Ava in exile, when they thought they had been forgotten in a foreign land. I whispered to my prophets, "One day, I will bring my people home." I did not require them to prove their worth. I only asked for their repentance. And when their hearts softened, when tears fell in longing for home, I moved. I stirred the hearts of foreign kings. I poured favor upon the returning remnant. I used ordinary people to rebuild what had been torn down. Jerusalem was restored. The temple was raised again. Worship was rekindled like sparks in the night. And it wasn't because they deserved it, but because I am faithful. I did what I promised. For I never go back on my word. My child, as you read these words, do not see them merely as history. See them as a mirror of your own life. Because there will be times when you, too, will stray, will disobey, will wander. So far you think there's no way back. But if you can still hear my voice, then it is not too late. Remember, when I discipline, it is not to discard but to restore. I allow you to taste emptiness, not to crush your hope, but so your soul would hunger again for me. My seeming absence is often the very way I teach you the value of my presence. When everything you leaned on crumbles, that is when you are reminded the only true foundation is me alone. And when you begin to rebuild your life on my word, on my presence, then you will experience a restoration unlike anything you've ever known. Never believe that I have erased your name from my heart. Never assume that your failures have made me turn away forever. No, my child, I never grow weary of waiting for your return. However long it takes, however far you've gone, I still wait. Still prepare your promised land, not just a location, but the place where you truly belong in full communion with me. If today you are walking through a hard season, a loss, a failure, a prolonged silence, let your heart be reminded, I am still working behind the scenes, even when you cannot see it. I am rebuilding, even when all looks ruined. I am restoring, and when the time comes, you will look back and realize what seemed like punishment was actually grace in disguise. What you thought was the end was the beginning of a new chapter filled with hope. My child, let me keep writing your story. Let me rebuild the broken walls of your heart. Let me lay a new foundation for your life built on my unchanging promise, my unconditional love, and my unwavering faithfulness. For I am the God who does not change in wrath, and who never withdraws love and mercy. My people are never forsaken, neither are you. And then there will come a time when you stand on the highest place in your life, not because you never stumbled, but because you were restored by my very own hand. You will worship with a humbled heart, knowing that none of it was by your own strength, but by the grace of the one who corrected you in love and never abandoned you for even a moment. And that, my child, will be the living testimony that even in judgment, I remain a father. Even in my discipline, my heart is overflowing with love, and what I began in you, I will carry to completion. My beloved child, amidst the busyness of your days, the relentless schedules, and the swirling emotions in your mind, I come as a thunderous roar, not as a consuming fire, but as a gentle breath, a tender whisper. My child, pause and look within your heart. I am calling you not to accuse, but to remind, not to expose, but to heal, not to condemn, but to embrace you once again Can you hear my voice in the stillness, the call that comes without pressure, but with deep urgency? Examine your life, not just what is visible on the outside, but the things quietly dwelling in your thoughts, in your intentions, in those hidden motives that only you and I know. Is there an area where you've turned away from me, a part of your life you've closed off, refusing my light to shine in? Is there a territory within your heart that you're still trying to manage, hide, or carry on your own, believing I don't care or that it's not good enough to surrender? My dear one, I know it all. Nothing within you escapes my holy and loving gaze. I am not seeking perfection from you. I'm seeking a heart that is honest, tender, and willing to return. I do not demand strength for you to be worthy. I wait for you in your weakness so I may lift you up. For I am a God of love that never dies, yet never compromises with sin. I am holy, and because I love you, I cannot remain silent when you stray. Sin, even the smallest, builds a wall between you and me. It doesn't only dull the sound of my voice, it also hardens your heart against the gentle presence I long to pour out. I do not ignore sin, because to excuse what is wrong would make my righteousness meaningless. But I also do not use righteousness as a wall to keep you out. It is the very foundation on which I offer mercy. I do not abandon those who have sinned, but neither do I overlook it without justice. This is why my only Son Jesus came and bore the punishment in your place. Therefore, if you repent, if you return in humility, there is no sin too great that my grace cannot forgive. There is no wound too deep that my love cannot heal. I have seen you fall, but I have also seen you rise. I know there were times you grew cold, indifferent, wandering far from the path I laid out for you. But I also saw you tremble with tears, whispering the faintest prayer, Lord, please don't leave me. I never turned away from that cry. And today, I have not changed. If you return, I will restore you, not by patching up a broken past, but by creating a brand new future, one built on forgiveness as its foundation and grace as the glue that binds it together. I will forgive every sin you carry. I will withhold nothing. I will cleanse you, not just on the surface, but in the deepest places where you thought no one could reach. Where there was once bitterness, I will plant peace. Where wounds festered, I will pour healing. Where shame and fear rotted your soul, I will breathe forth new life. And you will not merely be restored, you will be renewed, transformed, lifted up as if you had never fallen at all. I do not just want to heal you, I want to make you whole. Wholeness does not mean the absence of scars, but that those scars no longer hurt, and instead, they testify to my victory in you. You will not live as one defined by mistakes, but as one marked by forgiveness. And as you live in that wholeness, you will become a light, not because you are flawless, but because you were once broken and are now rebuilt by my hands. So, my child, do not delay any longer. Do not let another day slip by in the struggle between sin and my calling. Do not let yourself sink so deep in unworthiness that you hesitate to return. It is that very sense of unworthiness that makes you need grace all the more. And I, your Father, have waited. I have never walked away. I have never stopped loving. If only you would return, with a sincere heart, with slow but steady steps toward me. I will come running to you, gather you in my arms, wipe away your tears, and whisper, welcome home. Isr, I am opening a way, not a road of accusation, but a path that leads you back home, And you will see. The wonder is not just that I can forgive, but that I am willing to forgive. Not because you've earned it, but because I am your Father, and my love is not based on performance, but built upon an everlasting covenant. Let today be the beginning of something new. Let my voice be the fresh wind that carries your steps. Let my grace be the stream that washes away what was. Let my love be the reason you live, and my restoration be the imprint that cannot be erased from your life. For I am faithful, and what I have begun in you, I will bring to completion until the day you truly reflect my love, my righteousness, and my unfading beauty. My beloved child, I have watched every step you've taken, every time you chose forgiveness over resentment, every moment you kept silent in humility rather than respond with anger. You did not know I was there, recording every small act deep into my heart. You have lived like a small flame in the darkness, not dazzling, but enough to warm a wandering soul, enough to light the way for someone just learning how to walk. You have been a voice of hope where complaints abounded. You have been hands of support where many gave up. You have loved not to be repaid, but because your heart carried my love. I see how you have waited patiently in circumstances no one else knew about. You have waited tirelessly for the change in others, for a glimmer of hope in what seemed hopeless. You chose to stand firm when everyone around you wavered. You believed in my promise, even when no results were visible. And my child, it is these very things that bring me joy, not because you are perfect, but because you have remained faithful, not loudly, not for show, but with quiet perseverance and honesty. You are the delight of my eyes, a living testimony that my light can shine through fragile jars of clay. But today, I come not only to speak of what you have done well, but to speak to the place where you are still wrestling, the hidden place you're not yet ready to release, the place you hold on to, out of fear of what might happen if you let go. I know you don't want to resist me. I know you are not deliberately hard-hearted, but there is something within you clinging tightly as if, should you release it, everything might fall apart. Perhaps it is a dream you've nurtured for too long. Perhaps it is a relationship you don't want to let go of. Perhaps it is an old pain you thought you had overcome, but have merely been enduring in silence. Perhaps it is fear, the fear that if you completely surrender, I might lead you to a place you don't feel brave enough to go. My child, I do not come to take what you are holding as a harsh master. I come as a loving father who knows that some of the things you grasp too tightly are the very things that are hurting you. I see not only your actions, I see the weight within your heart. And what I desire is not perfection, but surrender, not reluctant surrender, but a deep trust that even when you cannot see the full picture, I am still working for your good. That if I ask you to release your grip, it's not to take something from you, but to place something better, more secure, and born of my boundless wisdom and mercy into your hands. You have trusted me with the big things. Now, I am calling you to trust me in the smallest things. You believed me when I asked you to love those who hurt you. Now, I am asking you to trust me in the silent battle of your own heart. I am not rushing you. I will walk with you, step by step, like a father holding his child's hand across a high bridge. I am not demanding that you leap. I am simply inviting you to take a step, one step of trust, one decision to let go, one simple prayer. Father, I surrender. That is enough for me to do the rest. And when you let go, you will not fall. On the contrary, you will find yourself being lifted. For where control ends, faith comes alive. where you cease striving, my power becomes evident. I do not need you to know the whole path, I just need you to know your Father, the one who is faithful, who has never broken a promise, the one who loves you, not because of what you do, but because you belong to me, the one who began a good work in you and will never leave it unfinished. You will lose nothing by surrendering to Mabut. You will gain everything: true peace, genuine lightness, and a joy that is not tied to circumstances. When you allow me to lead, you will walk through doors you could never open on your own and step into seasons of blessing beyond what you dared to dream. And when you look back, you will know it was not because you were strong, but because you dared to be weak before me. Not because you controlled well, but because you chose to trust. So today, my child, I ask you one simple thing. Are you willing, not willing to act, but to surrender, not to do more, but to lay it down, not to prove anything, but to admit that you need me more than you ever realized? Let me walk you through this stretch of the road, the stretch that does not require your understanding, only your trust. And you will see what I build in you through trust will be more lasting than anything you ever built with your own strength. I love you, and it is because I love you that I invite you, not because you haven't done enough, but because I long for you to experience a new depth in our relationship, a place where faithfulness is not just about what you do, but about a heart fully yielded, a place where you are not just a light for others, but radiant in my love that never wearies, never withdraws, and never stops halfway. My beloved child, you have heard of my wrath, and perhaps it made you fearful, but today, I want you to understand, more not through trembling anxiety, but through reverent gratitude. My wrath is not like the unpredictable anger of man. It does not arise from selfish hurt. It does not flare from being offended. And it does not carry vengeance. My wrath flows from deep love and perfect holiness. It is the sounding alarm from the heart of the one who never turns a blind eye to sin, not because I despise you, but because I love you too much to let you continue living in what is destroying your soul. My child, I know you are not perfect. I am not shocked by your stumbles, not stunned by your weakness, not disappointed when you fall short of your own expectations. What grieves me is when you reject my call, when you become indifferent to my warnings, when you treat my presence as something optional rather than as the heartbeat of your life, the one who created you and loves you with all eternity. My wrath does not come to crush you, but to awaken you. It is the blazing light that exposes the darkness you are afraid to face. It is the thunder in your dry season that reminds you I am still alive, still moving, and still calling you home. Do not think I only want you when you are obedient and spotless. I want you even when you carry the dust of the desert, the stains of failure, the days you've spent running from my hand. I have never turned my face away because you were too broken. If my wrath erupts, it is to cleanse, to break chains, to sever what is binding you. I do not rage to push you further. I clear a path for your return. My holiness does not contradict. My love is the very reason that love does not turn into tolerance. Because I do not merely want to comfort you, I want to transform you. And so, I call you not with a harsh rebuke, but with a gentle invitation. Come back. It doesn't matter how far you've gone, how long you've been away, or how many circles you've wandered around things that were never from me. It doesn't matter what you've said, what you've done, or what you've lost. What matters is this very moment. Will you dare to believe that my arms are still open wide? that my eyes have never stopped watching over you, and that my heart still beats for you. Come back not with perfection, but with sincere repentance. Let my anger not drive you away, but bring you to your knees in holy reverence, so you may rise again in restoration. My child, when you return, the first thing you will encounter will not be reproach, but the tender gaze of my eyes upon you. The first thing you will feel will not be the coldness of a judge, but the warmth of a father embracing his lost child. You will not step into a courtroom of condemnation, but into a house of grace where I cleanse, I heal, I restore, and I place you back into the very position for which you were created. You are not cast out from the river of grace. You are not erased from my heart. You are still beneath the one I love, the one I chose, the one for whom I gave everything to redeem. If you understand my anger rightly, it will not cause you to run away. It will lead you home. For behind that severity is a love that never changes. Behind the judgment is a covenant that cannot be broken. Behind my holiness is a mercy ready to be poured out upon any heart that humbly returns. There is no repentance I will reject. There is no cry I will ignore. If you open your heart, I will enter and begin again with you, not from the beginning, but from the very place you fell, and there I will raise you up with my power and my grace. My beloved, I know there are days you feel unworthy, days you feel too weak to go on, days when your faith seems too small to believe that I am still waiting. But remember, faith doesn't have to be big. It just has to be real. Your return doesn't have to be dramatic, only honest. And my love does not need you to prove anything. I knew you from the beginning, and I still love you just as I did at the start. So let the past stay behind you. Let go of the self-condemnation. Let my firm words soften your heart, not harden it. Let holy reverence become the fuel for a life of obedience, a life that pleases me and dwells in my presence. Let me be the one who heals you, leads you, and transforms you from within, not because you are good enough, but because my love is more than enough. My dear child, I never grow weary of waiting, but I rejoice even more when you return. Don't wait any longer. Don't wait until you feel ready. Come just as you are, and you will see. The greatest miracle is not that I forgive, but that I never stop loving. And in that love, you will be made new completely, deeply, and steadfastly, forever. Amen. As a child of God, know this: I am always beside you, in every moment, reminding you to live in faith and in the trust of my love. Follow this page and turn on notifications so you won't miss any of the words I speak from heaven. Amen.